Yesterday, I came across this Reddit thread that was talking about how rotational aim assist works in Warzone and Call of Duty. And I was really surprised because watching this video, it looked like nothing I'd ever experienced in a Call of Duty game before. So today I decided to try and test this for myself, and I went into it with two main thoughts. The first one is that I'm already a little bit biased towards thinking that this isn't real, that these videos are heavily edited to make it look worse than it probably is because a dramatic video does better, I guess, and because my experience of playing Warzone on a controller is that I miss a lot of shots. So my other thought was maybe there's some setting I'm missing, maybe there's some way to make aim assist work for you that would make it more powerful and be something that would improve the way I'm playing the game. Now, because of my obvious bias, I decided to do this in the most transparent way possible, so I started up a stream, and that entire stream's VOD is up on my channel. So you can see it's called Aim Assist Testing, and you can see everything we tried to do, every setting we changed. I even had a controller camera set up there so you can see what inputs I'm doing. I tried everything everyone in chat was telling me to do, so all the people who came in saying Aim Assist is overpowered, I made sure I tried all of their different ideas, and so we could see in what situations did it seem crazy powerful and where it maybe didn't work quite so well. This video is going to be more of a summary of the things that we found. A massive shout out to Darkness Soul, who saw that I was doing this in stream and he hopped in to help me test just by running around and getting shot a lot. He was very patient, so thank you so much. First of all, let's get some terminology out of the way so we're all on the same page. There's two different types of aim assist at work. The first one, I don't think many people mind too much, and this basically has the effect of when you're aiming across the screen, when you get near a player, there's like a bubble around a player, and your aim will slow down. It's like your sensitivity is reduced while you're aiming over that player. That means that it's much easier to make sort of fine-tuning adjustments when you're already aiming at somebody, but that doesn't follow them. It's just a bubble around them where your sensitivity is a little bit lower. The second type is rotational aim assist, and this is the more controversial one. So basically how this works is when you're aiming at a player or you're near a player and they move, it actually follows them. So it will move your view to follow that player, and it works both vertically and horizontally, and if you're not touching the right stick at all, you can see it really obviously that you will move around, like your camera will move around if someone walks past you. It will follow them for a surprising distance, and that's really the thing that we wanted to test. Now, thinking about settings, we did try a whole bunch of settings, but it became pretty obvious pretty quickly that there's only a couple of settings that make a huge amount of difference. The first one is what type of aim assist you have enabled. There's different types of aim assist, so you can have standard, or you can have precision, or you can have focused. Contrary to what I'd heard on Twitter, they all do actually have some rotational aim assist, but it's only the standard one that has the really strongest version of it. The other two seem super inconsistent. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does. Sometimes it only works when someone's moving from right to left or left to right. It's really bizarre, it's really hit or miss, so standard aim assist is the one that we're using for this. The other one is about whether or not your field of view is affecting your aim assist. And if you want the strongest aim assist, you want to turn that on. That does seem to make some kind of difference, and we tried lots of different field of views. That didn't seem to make too much of a difference, so I started off at 105 field of view, then later I moved down to 80 field of view, and I think maybe it was a little bit stronger with a smaller field of view, because I'm guessing that kind of box for the aim assist was more of the screen maybe, but definitely you could notice it a little bit more with the lower field of view. For everything else, I started with the default settings, and then eventually I put the sensitivity up to 6 for both, and then I reduced the ADS sensitivity, or whatever it's called, down to 0.8. Again, that was on the recommendation of someone on Twitter who was saying, like, this is what makes aim assist really broken. So I was trying to make my settings as broken as possible. So what did we find in the tests? First of all, rotational aim assist definitely exists. It only seems to kick in if you're moving somewhat, so you're sort of strafing a little bit with the left stick, but if you're not touching the right stick at all, you'll definitely notice it, even if the other player isn't moving. So even if they're standing still and you're strafing past them, you will turn a little bit to look at them. Interestingly, it even works if you're mounted up. So if you're mounted up and you don't need to be touching the left stick, when someone moves past you, your aim will follow them a little bit. Not for very long, but it does seem to follow them. It definitely works vertically as well as horizontally, and I think because obviously a player hitbox is kind of rectangular, you know, people are taller than they are wide, it actually seems to be stronger vertically, and we'll get back to that later. But I think that's the reason for it, that essentially you are aiming at their hitbox for longer if you're going up and down vertically than you are if you're going horizontally. It's much easier for them to break your aim horizontally. Also, it seems to be very different for different weapons. So for the sake of these tests, we were using a completely standard, completely stock MP5 and then a HDR. I did later try putting a tactical laser on the MP5 to see if that made a difference, but it didn't really seem to. But yeah, we were trying to use the complete basic versions of these guns, and with the MP5, you got really strong rotational aim assist, especially when you were close to enemies. With the HDR, you didn't seem to get any at all. You could maybe get a little bit if you were aiming from a long way away. So the weapon type does seem to make a difference. Now onto the different situations where aim assist works. If a player is standing still and you're moving past them, it seems quite strong. Obviously that's not something that you're going to need help with too much shooting someone who's stationary, but definitely if you're moving, say someone was hiding in a bush or something and you moved past them, then 100% the aim assist would probably help you. It would tell you that there was somebody there. Interestingly, this whole idea of the aim assist giving away when someone's in cover, I couldn't really get that to replicate in Modern Warfare 2019. I've definitely experienced this in Warzone, so it must be different types of cover. But in this game, when someone was behind a door or they were behind a wall, I wouldn't get any aim assist until they were visible. So if they sprinted out from behind cover, it would start moving as soon as I could see them, as soon as they left cover. But if they were moving around behind a wall before I could see them, it didn't work at all. Now, when somebody was running around horizontally in front of me, the aim assist definitely did something. Like, it was definitely moving my aim, but it wasn't aiming for me. It wasn't enough to make it so I could kill someone without aiming at all. You'd have to aim a little bit. And weirdly, sometimes it actually messed up your aim a little bit because you'd kind of overcompensate. You'd be moving in one direction and the aim assist would be moving in one direction, which would mean that you'd shoot a little bit too far off to one side or the other. So when someone's running horizontally in front of you, it definitely is trying to help, but it's not an aimbot. It's not going to do the work for you. It's just something where if you can anticipate it, if you know it's going to happen, you can make sort of small adjustments with the right stick rather than having to make the bigger adjustments you do when aim assist is turned off. We did play some games at the end where I played a game just against bots with Darkness Soul on my team, and we were just seeing how many bots we could kill. And when I played with aim assist, I did do better than without aim assist. And most of the situations I found it helped me were just like this, where the enemy was running right to left or left to right in front of me, and the aim assist would help me keep tracking that, would help me keep on. So as long as I didn't accidentally overcompensate, that would help me get kills. It wasn't as dramatic as I'd thought. I think the first time I did it, I got 33 kills with aim assist on and 27 kills with aim assist off, which, considering that's a big difference to the controller, that's like giving someone a new controller and asking them to do as well, seemed not as dramatic as I expected. I thought there'd be a much bigger difference. But yeah, there is definitely a difference. It definitely does feel easier with aim assist on, but it wasn't like, oh, I couldn't shoot at all without it, or I was absolutely racking up kills and not missing a single shot with it. It was much more subtle than that. Now, in any situation, whether someone was running just left to right horizontally in front of you, or they were running past you, which sometimes made the aim assist feel a little bit stronger, you couldn't keep up with a player who was moving like a real player. So if someone was slide cancelling at all, if they were sprinting at all, the aim assist wouldn't keep up with them for you. You'd still have to take over. And as soon as you're starting to put any input on the right stick, you're kind of just aiming. So again, it might make it so you have to make smaller adjustments with the right stick than you would otherwise, but it's definitely something where you had to do something. You had to be aiming, and if you got it wrong, you could easily miss. Or if you relied on the aim assist too much, you would miss. Maybe more interesting was the vertical movement. So when someone was climbing up a box, especially if they were moving up vertically, the aim assist coupled with the recoil of the gun meant that you 100% could kill someone just relying on aim assist. Now again, this isn't a very likely situation to happen where you're standing just behind someone, they're climbing up a box slowly and you wouldn't be able to shoot them anyway, but the aim assist did make it easier in that specific situation. I also thought it was interesting that if they were moving horizontally across my vision, but climbing up on boxes. You could really see that vertical movement in the aim assist. It's much more pronounced, much more exaggerated than it was with the horizontal rotation. And again, I think that's because of the shape of a hitbox, because the hitbox is rectangular, there's kind of more time that your crosshair is on them, so it will follow them. You'll end up like starting off aiming at their chest and you'll end up aiming at their feet if they're climbing up, but it definitely does feel like it's tracking them more that way. The most spectacular way aim assist helps, and the time that it really did surprise me how strong it was when someone's dropping down in front of you. If someone's dropping in front of you and you're already sort of lined up with them in terms of the horizontal axis, and you're already at kind of a 45-degree angle from the ground, so you're looking up and they drop down in front of you, it will track them to the point where you will end up shooting them in the head when they land right in front of you. And that is the time when I've seen some videos of this and it looks absolutely crazy, and it feels crazy. Again, I think there's a lot going on here with the hitbox being rectangular, so it's taking up that part of your screen for much longer. And obviously, as your aim slowly starts missing them, the aim assist can't keep up, you're just moving up their body towards their head, which is obviously better if you're shooting them. Coupled with recoil and things like that, it means that if somebody jumped over you and you were already aiming at the sky, you could just pull the trigger and get a kill on them. It's quite a niche situation though, and this is kind of where I get to my conclusions about aim assist. In all of the testing I did, it felt like you had to engineer situations for it to be useful. It wasn't the sort of thing where if a player was playing normally, that you would end up being able to make use of aim assist to do the work for you. You would always have to be aiming because you can't rely on aim assist, and then very occasionally aim assist will do something weird. In a lot of situations, the aim assist didn't make it that much easier to shoot them. Like, it was still very easy to miss. If you weren't focusing, you could still miss very easily. The one time I found it super useful was when Darkness Soul was jumping between two containers. When I tried that without aim assist, it was very hard to keep the crosshairs right on them. When I had aim assist on, that made it way easier. And I think that's a combination of my aim slowing down, thanks to the normal version of aim assist, and that bit of rotational aim assist just making it much easier to keep up with the horizontal and vertical movement. So in summary, is aim assist overpowered, especially rotational aim assist? I would say no. I'm still not convinced that it's overpowered. It definitely doesn't feel like an aimbot or anything like that. You do have to aim. There's some very particular situations where you can show it looking absolutely crazy, but in a normal game, it's not the sort of thing that's going to make up for someone who has better aim. I know people talk about this reducing the skill gap on controller, and I definitely think it does. It will help bad players to be a little bit better, but if you're a good controller player, you're good at aim and controller, you're still going to be miles better than anyone else on controller. And this gets back to the real argument about why do we have aim assist in the first place, and it's because of crossplay. It's because when people started talking about crossplay back with Shadowrun in the Xbox 360, people were saying, okay, people on PC or people on keyboard and mouse are going to absolutely destroy people who are using controller. And this is something that apparently has happened in Rainbow Six Siege, where people can use keyboard and mouse against people on controller. Keyboard and mouse is just miles better. It's much more accurate. It's much easier to track and pinpoint someone using a mouse, where you can make lots of fine adjustments, or you can make huge movements with massively different movements of the mouse, compared to a controller where you've got an analog stick that you can move, like 30 degrees, and you've got to make all of those different adjustments between, making a 1 degree move or making a 5 degree movement. Controllers definitely need something to compete. Whether or not this rotational aim assist is the best way of doing it, I don't know. I think we're still in fairly early days of crossplay being a big thing, and I think it's really interesting seeing how other games have had lobbies where you just have keyboard and mouse or just controller, like I think Fortnite has done that sort of input-based matchmaking. I'm guessing the reason they don't do that in Call of Duty is because there's not enough keyboard and mouse players to make the matchmaking viable, especially in quieter regions. So that's probably why they're not doing it, but maybe they could have an option saying, if you're on keyboard and mouse, we can just give you that input-based matchmaking, but be aware you might be waiting for like 5-6 minutes for a match. That might be a good compromise. The thing that I think I've come away from this being the most interested by is that all of this tallies up exactly with what the developers said. Apparently some Infinity Ward developers said, yep, they tried to do this whole aim assist thing and rotational aim assist to balance the playing field between mouse and keyboard, because without aim assist, people on mouse and keyboard are always at a massive advantage over controller. With these aim assist functions, then people who are really, really good at mouse and keyboard are still much better than people on controller. But people who are using controller on average are probably better. They have more of an advantage compared to standard mouse and keyboard players. So there is still that skill gap, and you still can do crazy things with mouse and keyboard, particularly with sniping and long distance engagements, with a mouse and keyboard much more effectively. But for the average player, you're probably going to have an easier time using controller. So they're kind of acknowledging that, yeah, for most people, controller's probably going to be easier to aim. It's probably going to be easier to track people. And I think that's kind of what's played out in the tests. But hopefully I've dispelled some of these ideas that it's just an aimbot, that it's a soft aimbot, and controller players barely need to aim at all because it will do all the work for you. It doesn't work like that, at least in the way I've tested it. So let me know in the comments if you think there's something else we should have tried, if there's some other setting that's amazing. If you want to see more detail about all of the different things we've tried, I show all of the settings I use, all of the different sort of environments we tried it in, then make sure you check out that other video where I show the whole like 2 hours of testing. I know it's a 3-hour video, but the last hour is just me talking really. So the first 2 hours is all of the testing, and you can see absolutely everything we tried. Let me know in the comments, do you still think aim assist is overpowered or not on console? Don't forget to leave a like on this video if you've got this far. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.